Welcome back, YouTube. This is Evil Squeegee. I am Evil Squeegee. This is Evil Squeegee. This is gonna be a hell of a show today. Uh, this is DMPC, the show where I am both the DM and the PC. I'm playing Dungeon World today. We record this live on twitch.tv/Evil Squeegee if you wanted to check us out there. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, notification bell, all that nonsense. Leave a comment, get the algorithms going. And that's just about it. When we last left off on our adventures.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, thank you for the follow, Goblin Knave. When we last left off on our adventures, we had just entered the mines on Mount Pernrith, the volcano, the gem mines, and we were exploring here. Basically, we got to Pernrith. We reached Pernrith village, not village, Pernrith is a city. As a city where it rains gold, and so gold has no value, and so the gems that are mined from Mount Pernrith, the volcano that's just looming next to the city, that's the currency everybody uses. Now, when I showed up, the king was visiting, and his entourage had to stop by the temple for care. And since I didn't have any gems, and the king did have gems, the king's men took priority, and Maud, who had been wounded in a fight with a ghost just before we arrived in town, is currently resting at the temple, and the temple agreed to help me by healing Maud, but only if I went to the mines to discover why communications had been stopping with their mining crew. There's a mining team that works the mines in Mount Pernrith that communications had ceased with the church, and so the church sent me and Christina to go and find out what's going on. And when I showed up to the people were still working the mines. They were still, like collecting the gems and putting them in crates and stuff. And it turned out that there had been a collapse in the mines because one of the foremans had pushed them in too hard, and the collapse had trapped the miners in the mines themselves. So I went in to go and find them and bust them out. But as I entered, I was confronted by an avatar of Moen, the goddess of the night, that the cult I have been fighting against this whole campaign worships. And they cursed me with sickness, so I am pale, I am sickly, I am sweating, and I am delving into the mines with Christina here. And that is where we left off, so let's get this party started. Okay, so Christina and I are just about to delve deeper into this dungeon. So let's get this party started. What do we find as we delve deeper? I was not prepared. Oh no, I need to have PBTA Dungeon World. I need to have Perilous Wilds open so I know what I'm doing. Plumb the depths. Dungeon moves. Here we go. What did I roll? I rolled a 2, which is a common and a danger. Which common area do we discover? A 4. Did I put it in my notes, or did I put it... I did put it in my notes. I rolled a 4, which is a 3-way intersection. So that's a 3-way intersection, the way that we are entering in the left and the right. And I have a question for Mythic, which is there a difference in left versus right? Am I capable of discerning like different stimulus coming from the left or the right? Like, I need something to make this choice have some context. So we're gonna call this 50-50. Is there something what is our current chaos factor? I'm gonna start I'm gonna start this scene on chaos factor 6 because our last scene was chaos factor 5 and things were way out of control with the dark god manifesting and getting cursed. Yeah. So this is chaos factor 6 and I'm gonna throw D100 here. A 48. I am almost certain that a 48 Mythic GM 48 what did I say this is? I called it a 50-50 chaos factor 6, which means a 65 or lower is a yes, so there is a difference in stimulus. So I am going to go to the meaning tables elements and we're going to find dungeon descriptors. We're going to roll up some dungeon descriptors and find out what the left and right. So left will be an 85 and right will be a 54. An 85 on this chart is ruined. And a 54 on this chart is light. So left is ruined and right is light. So to rewind here, Octavia and Christina are plumbing the depths of this mine shaft, and they come across a tunnel to the left and a tunnel to the right, and the dead ahead. And so the left was ruined and the right was light. So to their right, which would be downward on this map, light is coming into the tunnel. So there's a torch or there's a fire or there's something that's generating some light. And then northward is where like the beams that hold up the mine shaft are like cracked and collapsed. So we're gonna follow the light because the light is probably gonna lead us closer to the light is probably gonna lead us closer to the collapse, which is what we're looking for. So when we delve in, what do we find? A 5. What is a 5? Savage Worlds? Nope, not. I'm closing Savage Worlds. I was playing Savage Worlds earlier today. Perilous Wilds. A 5 is a common area with a discovery. What is the common area we find? A 5, which has us finding a 4-way intersection. So what was generating that light? I'm probably going to say was it a torch? If not, something is on fire. That's what I'm going to say. So was it a torch? 50-50. 66 is a no, it was not a torch, so something is on fire, and we get a random event because we just rolled doubles equal to or lower than our chaos factor. What is our random event? Random event focus table. What is the nature of the random event that we experience? A 7. An ambiguous event. Okay. 43 and 90 is what happens on our description, on our actions. 43 is a fail. 90 is tension. Fail of tension. I think that the mines are starting to collapse, and as we're so we come in here and there's like a pile of rubble. There's a pile of rubble and wood that's burning and filling the hallway with light. And as we are approaching it, trying to inch our way around to pick a direction that we're going to go in, the beams that are holding up the mine shaft crack as that tension starts to fail. And Christina kind of like looks at Octavia, and Octavia, who is panting and sickly and cursed, is, oh, you know what I should do? I should figure out cleanse the curse. Should add cleanse the curse to the threads list. What is our threads list? Banish the cult, disregard jerks, acquire gems, discover my history, banish the cult, and cleanse the curse. Okay. So we come in from the north here, and there's a pile of rubble that's on fire and burning, and the tension in the beams is starting to crack and give way. This whole mine shaft is probably going to collapse if anything explosive happens in it, and that's not good. And we're going to stick to the left here. We're going to stick to the left. 1. What do we find on a 1? We find an empty common area. What common area do we find? A 7. A 7 is another four-way intersection. We're just going to keep going left, I think. We are going to keep exploring left because this is another mine shaft, but there's nothing in it. So we're just going to keep moving left. Wow, I just can't roll over a common with a discovery and a danger. What common area do we find? A 12. That's going to be a chamber. Okay, so this is going to be the end of this. Okay, so this chamber, a common with a discovery and a danger. So let's roll up the discovery first. Discovery is 1. It is dressing. What kind of dressing is it? Books, scrolls, or map? Oh my god, a map of the mines in this room. Nice. What is the dungeon danger? A 1, it's a trap. What kind of trap? A 12, roll twice. A 4, and a 5. Crushing and piercing or puncturing. I think that this room is going to actively collapse as we show up. So the question is, do I notice? I gotta get myself into Dungeon World mode here because I've been playing Savage Worlds a bunch. So, okay, so we discover a map and there's a crushing and piercing trap. What kind of crushing or piercing trap do we find? Yeah, I think the room is going to be on the very verge of collapsing if any loud noise or sudden movement is made. Like maybe the floorboards are cracked and stepping on them is like a pressure plate that kind of sets off this chain reaction of this Rube Goldberg machine that will collapse the room. So we need to be very, very careful coming in here. If we can get into the room and out of the room without triggering the trap, we will have a map, and that map will give us advantage on our rolls to discover what we delve deeper for. So, to rewind, we're sticking to the left side of the wall here, and delving into the dungeon, and we come across a chamber, and on the south side of this chamber is a wall with a board hanging on it, and this board has a map of the mines on it, and so we are entering the dungeon room when Christina holds out a hand in front of Octavia and points at the floorboards and says, "Be very careful. If we crack those floorboards with our weight, the ceiling here is going to collapse on top of us." And so Octavia turns to Christina and says, "You wait here. I'll go in and get the map so we can bring it with us." And Christina nods, agreeing to this plan. Do we have any unnatural dice? We do not have any unnatural dice, so that means we're rolling all natural. This is based on dexterity. I have +1 dexterity. Oh no, that's not good. Snake eyes. I at least get to mark experience points. 10 out of 10 experience points needed for level 2, so if we decide to make camp inside these mines at any point, I will level up both of my characters. So Octavia sets foot inside the room, and immediately the floorboards crack and crumble, and she sets off the trap. Now, does she manage to get out before the ceiling collapses on top of her? She can't get the map, or if she chooses to go for the map, then she's guaranteed to have this trap collapse in on her. So I think she's going to try and pull back, and like Christina's going to grab her and yank her out. Christina's going to grab her and yank her out, which means that we're rolling a plus bond. So Christina's going to grab Octavia by the shoulders and yank her out, and that's going to be an aid maneuver. Just +1. What happens on? They take +1, and you also expose yourself to danger. So this is +1, +2 total because it's based on dexterity, as Octavia tries to get out of the room before the room collapses in on her. An 8 + 2 is 10. That gets both of them out of danger just fine, which is it's a pity though, because I really wanted that map. That map would have made this quest a lot easier. And this chamber is now filled with rubble. We now explore. I'm going to make this map a little bit bigger. Okay, so Octavia and Christina are now exploring southwards to find what they find. They don't have the map, so let's find a 7. Let's find a 7. Dungeon moves. A 7 is a themed common area with a danger. What kind of common area? It's another chamber, but this one is themed. What is the theme of this chamber? It could be cold, haunted, mining, or unstable. So we have roll 1d4. Mining themed. Mining themed, and I rolled a 7, which is, there's a danger in here. What is the dungeon danger? A 4. It's another trap. What kind of trap? A 10. It's an ambush. What kind of ambush? I suppose we roll on the creatures table to find out what kind of ambush is in this chamber. 6 is humans. Alright. Am I encountering cultists? Are the cultists in the mines? Did the cultists have something to do with the collapse? I think the cultists caused the collapse, and this ambush is them jumping Christina and Octavia. So Christina and Octavia come from the north southward into this chamber, and there's mining tracks that kind of leave the room, and there's a mining cart in the middle of it filled with all of this rubble and dirt, and there's gems sparkling in the walls, and these cultists are hiding behind a big rock, a big chunk of the wall as Christina and Octavia coming out. Do Christina and Octavia notice the cultists coming in? They're probably not proceeding with much caution right now because they haven't encountered anything other than the Dark God. So this chamber here, we've got, let's draw this chamber's wall like that, and the cultists are hiding back here where these dots are, and Christina's coming in from the north. Christina and Octavia. And the question is, we're not advancing with much caution, so I don't think we're going to be discerning realities here. I think we just straight up get ambushed by these cultists, and it's going to be a defy danger based on wisdom to see if we can pull our swords out in time. Defy danger based on wisdom. My wisdom is -1. And it doesn't matter, it's 10 plus, so we do get our swords out in time. That means it's time for the hack and slash. This is +2. 4 + 2 is 6. Oh no, the cultist ambush works. The cultists, we know, do 1d4 damage. We know this from previous encounters. 2, that's not going to be enough to hurt me because I have armor and a shield. And so this cultist jumps out from behind the wall and shouts, "For Moen!" and stabs at me, and I block it with my shield, and Christina draws her weapons and goes in for the kill. This is at +1. 6 + 1 is 7. That means that she's going to deal her damage. Her damage is 1d10 + 1. She kills one of the cultists. I had said there were 2 cultists in here. So she drops one of the cultists with her sword swing and starts rushing at the next one, and the next one conjures the forces of darkness and unleashes a bolt of energy at her that slams into her and crackles with like lightning and energy kind of coursing over her armor, dealing 1d4 damage that ignores armor because it's magic. 1 point of damage to Christina, leaving her at 25 HP out of 26 HP. It's at this point that the second cultist is closed in by Octavia. Octavia gets +2 to this roll. +2 is 10. Octavia does 1d10 + 1 damage as well. And she drops the second cultist. So this ambush is over as soon as it starts. They jump in. So this ambush is over as soon as it starts. the first cultist jumps out and stabs and gets blocked by Octavia's shield, and then Christina just comes in and decapitates one of the cultists before they can do anything about it. And then both Octavia and Christina descend on the last cultist with their swords and run that cultist through, dropping the cultist corpse to the ground. And Octavia will turn to Christina and mutter something about the cult being here too, and Christina will nod and swallow and say, we should be careful here. They might have had something to do with the collapse, and they will continue to head further into the dungeon with a 7. A 7 is a themed common. Oh, that was mining was the theme from the last encounter, from the last chamber. So there are 4 themes, and each one has 2 boxes, and once a theme's boxes have been checked off, every time I roll a themed room, I check off the theme that's on that box. I check off a box that's on that theme, and when that theme is checked off, it can't be encountered anymore. When you run out of themed rooms, the whole dungeon is complete. So a common area and a danger. What kind of common area do we find? A 7 is a 4-way intersection. And we are there's a danger in here too, isn't there? And what is the theme? Let's find out what the theme is. The theme is 4, which is unstable. I'm marking off one of the unstable boxes. And what is the danger that we encounter? An 8 is a creature. What kind of creature do we discover? 7, on the move. Creature page 49. Alright, creature. Let's find out what this creature is. 9. It is a monster. 12. It is a legendary monster. What is it with these mines, man? Dark gods are manifesting. Legendary monsters are pulling up. It is a beast. It is a draconic beast. What kind of beast is it? Water-going beast. What are you doing in the mines? It is a draconic frog. A draconic frog. What is this beast's disposition? I need to know. 8. Neutral. Okay. So what is this thing doing? It's on the move, but what is it after? 12. Activity. It is dying. Huh. It's dying. There's an unstable. It was on the move. I think that the chamber is collapsing. The tunnel is collapsing in on top of it, and it's caught underneath the rubble. This draconic frog. How big is this draconic frog? Size. Where is size? There it is. 7. Medium size. So it's about the size of a person. So as Christina and Octavia are coming down into this 4-way intersection, they hear the rumble and crash of a chamber collapsing, and a cry of pain that emanates from that hallway, and immediately Christina and Octavia pull out their swords, or they have their swords out already, so they come around the corner, and there is this draconic frog. It's got, like the bulbous eyes of an amphibian, and the big wide mouth, and its wings are kind of mangled, and its big hind haunches are trapped underneath this pile of rubble. And Octavia holds out her sword, just naked in her hand, and says, "Are you all right?" And the frog kind of ribbit. "Ow, I'm not okay. I think I'm dying." Ribbit. And this is yet another chance for Octavia to lay on hands, but if she screws up her lay on hands, then she will be dying instead. And she can't have dying when she's supposed to be saving Maud by saving these miners. And so Octavia will do the same thing here that she did back in the first dungeon, which was when she found a guy that had been tortured too much and he wasn't going to make it, she brought him to a bed and sat down with him and spent made certain that his last moments were not alone. And so she's going to do this with this frog dragon. She's going to sheath her blade and walk over and sit down next to this frog dragon. And she's going to introduce herself. And she'll get the dragon's name. And she'll kind of like pet the frog dragon as it dies off until it's dead. And then she'll turn sadly to Christina. And Christina just quietly nods. And they continue south. And they delve deeper. And they get a 9. A common area with a discovery. It is also themed. What is the theme? 3. Mining is the theme. It is a common area. What kind of common area is it? 10. I believe a common area of 10 is another chamber. Okay. We'll say this chamber has 2 exits. One in this direction and one in that direction. It's a mining chamber, so it's just like the last one is. There's a discovery here. What is our dungeon discovery? A 9 is a feature. What dungeon feature do we find? A 7. A fountain, well, or pool. There's a water pool here, and I'm guessing this water pool was probably that frog's home before it was driven out. So what drove him out of his home? The water is corrupted because of the presence of the cult, I think. And so Christina and Octavia come from the north again and find this deep pool of water in the middle of the mines, and it looks like this place has been carved out. Unlike the rest of the mines, this particular chamber looks like smooth walls, like magic had been used to kind of smooth out the walls and carve out the dungeon. And there's that bubbling, sickly smell in the air, and Octavia smells it and herks a little because she's sick and cursed, and the water is corrupted. And Christina says, maybe it's best if we don't touch that water. And they both walk around the water and head south. A 9, I think that's the same thing we just rolled, is a themed common area with a discovery. What kind of common area is it? It's another chamber. What is our discovery? Our discovery is a 3. Dressing. A warning. We must be getting close to something dangerous. That's a good sign. What kind of common area is it? It's a 9, which is another chamber. What kind of warning do we discover? I have no idea, so I'm going to go to Mythic, and we are going to roll on a table. What table are we rolling on? We're going to roll on Cryptic Messages. An 18 and a 27. Damaged environment. So Christina and Octavia enter the room from the north. What theme was this room, by the way? 1d4. Cold. And they start to see their breath as they enter the chamber. And there's a sign on the far side that says, "Caution, cold ahead." And it warns that the mines are starting to be unstable because of the ice that's inside of the volcano, which makes no sense. And Christina turns to Octavia and says, "That doesn't make any sense at all. What is ice doing in the middle of this volcano?" And Octavia says, "I don't know, but I think we're going in the wrong direction, and we need to head elsewhere because it's unlikely that the miners' collapse came in the form of an icy tunnel, and we have all these extra places to go exploring that are more likely to lead us to where we're trying to get." And Christina will nod, and Octavia will backtrack all the way to the start and start heading in an eastwardly direction. What do they find? A 5. A common area with a discovery. What kind of common area is it? A 10. It's another chamber. It's not a themed area. We'll say this also has 2 exits. It's a chamber with a discovery. What is the discovery? 3. It is addressing. Tracks or marks. So we find evidence of people moving back and forth. That's not all that surprising here. They could be miners' tracks. They could be cultist tracks. They could be draconic frog tracks. Probably not the latter. They're. I get the idea. Are they people tracks? Let's ask Mythic. 15 is a yes. They are people tracks that head east, and so east is the direction we shall go. What do we find when we head east? 4. A common area with a discovery and a danger. It is not themed. What is the common area? Whoops, that's the wrong button. I said it is a 1. A 1 is a 3-way intersection. It goes north and south. There is a discovery and a danger. Let's do the discovery first. Discovery is 10. A 10 is a find. Ooh, nice. An 8. What kind of 8? We find a magic item. Now let's roll up that danger. A 1. It's a trap. Another piercing, puncturing trap. This time, we're going to say, what kind of magic item do we find? This is for Mythic. Mythic, roll me an object. 2 and 19 on the objects table. Where did the objects table go? A 2 is an artistic, and a 19 is damaged. So it's artistic and damaged. I think we find the hilt of a sword that's very elaborately carved. But it's trapped. And the trap was another piercing or bludgeoning. So I'm thinking that the trap is another collapsing tunnel. And it's just like it was in the room with the map. So Christina nods to Octavia, and Octavia steps in, very gently trying to not trigger the collapse of the ceiling as she goes to reach for this magic item. Unnatural dice. It is disadvantage from Tice. Disadvantage from Tice. I have +1 to this. 7, so I get a 9. I both trip the trap and get the magic item. That's what happens. So Christina turns to Octavia and nods, and Octavia turns to Christina and kind of just gently steps her feet into the chamber, trying to not crack the floorboards, because the floorboards cracking will cause a collapse from the ceiling. And she gently kneels down and picks up the sword, and when she goes to pick up the hilt of the sword, the hilt turns on, and it's a sunblade. And the sunblade, which is made of energy, startles her, and she stumbles back, and the floorboards crack underneath her feet, and she has to try and get out without the trap. And again, Christina grabs her and drags her in. So Christina's going to... oh, no, Christina is an NPC now. So, I think the only unnatural dice I have are disadvantages from Tice. So I'm going to delete 2 disadvantages from Tice because we're about to roll twice. So disadvantage from Tice means that Christina rolls twice and takes the lower of the 2 rolls. Her first roll is an 8. Her second roll is a 9, so she gets an 8, which means that she is also exposed to this if Octavia doesn't pull out just fine. Octavia pulls out with dexterity. She has disadvantage from Tice. An 8 or a 9, so that's an 8 with dexterity as a 9, so she pulls out just fine, but something goes wrong. Something goes wrong. Octavia has to choose between her being hit by the trap or Christina being hit by the trap, and Octavia's going to immediately choose herself. And so there's this moment where Christina has grabbed Octavia and is pulling Octavia out from underneath the trap, and Octavia turns and sees that the collapsing is starting to land on Christina as well. So Octavia pushes Christina back and tosses her the sunblade, which deactivates as soon as it leaves her hand, and she takes D10 crushing damage. 5 minus 3 for armor is 2 damage. 21 out of 23 hit points remain. So that leaves Octavia buried underneath underneath a whole bunch of rubble, and Christina is fallen back into the chamber. What was in this chamber? I forget. Well, it can't have been that important. It must be just a chamber, an empty chamber. Oh no, it was a discovery. Yeah, skips my mind. It must be empty. At least it's empty now. I will go back when I'm editing this video and be like, oh, duh. but whatever. So Octavia is trapped underneath all this rubble. Christina is on her butt in the empty chamber with the magic item, with the sunblade in her hand. And to find out what happens next, YouTubers, you're gonna have to tune into the next episode. If you're watching on twitch.tv/evilsqueegee, where we record this live every Saturday and Sunday at 2 p.m. EST, then hang on. We'll be right back after these messages. But if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can get the notification for the next episode goes live. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thank you so much for hanging out. It's been a blast having you guys here. I will be right back after these messages. Bye-bye.